That looked a lot like what we saw before Jimmy Butler was on the Golden State Warriors. In case you didn't think Butler was important, there's your proof. The 76ers snap a 9-game losing streak. They win their first game since the 6th of February, and it comes against the Golden State Warriors on today's show.
Who cares now? Because I'm here, and I would like to think that I am wanted here.
Most importantly, he a dog.
We got 4 championships.
You are Locked On Warriors.
I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
Your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Speculation is just what it is now.
Your team every day.
Yo, what's the good word, everyone? Happy Saturday, or whenever you are listening to this podcast, thank you for making it a part of your day. We're free and available on YouTube. If you're hanging out with us right now, subscribe to the page. Join 16,000 other Golden State Warriors fans. Let's get that thing up to 20. We appreciate it very much. And remember, likes equal Golden State Warriors wins. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. New FanDuel customers get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. My name is Charlie Walter, formerly at 95.7 The Game, the host of Locked On Warriors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. 95.7 The Game, flagship station of the Golden State Warriors, also covered the team in their championship run for CBS News Bay Area. Oh, God, that was disgusting. A disaster all around. Jimmy Butler did not play in this game. Obviously, that is a huge factor. Butler and Kuminga missed another. Sounds like he could potentially be back within the next 2. So fingers crossed that we see some JK soon. Without Jimmy Butler, it looked like the team that we saw where the play-in tournament was the best case scenario. And the team with Jimmy Butler, who's 7-1 when he plays, now 0-1 when he doesn't, had a chance to overtake the Clippers today, take over that 6 seed. So let's look at the positive spin there. Butler doesn't play A. And B, you have plenty of games to go to get that 6 seed, which at the end of the day, I mean, this is a completely different team than it was when they were losing all those games. So really, you just have to get in, and we'll see what happens. You don't need to get into the 3 or the 2. This isn't necessarily the, NCAA tournament where you have to, seeding matters. Let's put it that way. It doesn't matter nearly as much. You can get a 5, you'll be okay. So we'll see. But you had the chance to overtake the Clippers, and instead you lost to a team. I said February 6th. They hadn't won a game since February 4th. Plus 12 in the Steph Curry minutes were the Warriors. So when Curry was on the floor, they were brilliant because Curry, quite frankly, was brilliant. Follows up a 56-point game with 29 on 10 of 18 shooting, 5 of 12, 13 assists in the game. So do the math there. You assume some of those are threes. Let's just assume that all are twos. 26 points combined to his 29. He accounted for like 60 points, like half of the Warriors' points in this game today. So it's not on Steph Curry. He was willing his team to a victory. In fact, he actually dunked the basketball in the game today. His first dunk since the 2018-19 season. Went up there and yammed it with one hand. How about that? And then let the bench know about it after. It was part of 3 straight dunks by the Dubs in a moment in time where you thought they were going to get it done despite not playing well. Unfortunately, on the other side, Quentin Grimes. It took us a little too long to get into Quentin Grimes. If this was a 76ers podcast, in that opening 2 seconds, the first words would have been Quentin Grimes. But we'll say his name plenty today. Once again, Quentin Grimes toasted the Warriors for 44 points. Quentin Grimes had 44 points in the game, and the Warriors' 5-game win streak is snapped, dropping a half game back at the Clippers for the 6th spot. Final score, Sixers 126. Warriors 119. All right, let's break this thing down. So the whole Steph Curry on-off the floor thing, we know that's a big deal, especially when there's no Kuminga and Butler. That's where Jimmy's been so huge. In those non-Steph minutes, he holds down the fort. They did not have that today. They did not have players step up that they needed, such as Moses Moody, who was a -10 when he was in the game, did have 10 points, 3 of 8 shooting. Defensively, though, on Quentin Grimes when he was matched up, it was not good enough. And quite frankly, you needed more in 38 minutes from Moses Moody than just 10 points, a couple of rebounds, and 0 assists in the game. Why bury the lead? You needed more from Brandon Pajimski, and quite frankly, probably more minutes, but he was not playing well at all. A team worst, minus 16, 5 points, was 2 of 8 from the floor, 0 of 3 from deep, had 6 rebounds. He's always going to do that. 2 assists, 2 turnovers. Just didn't look good. What have I been saying since the All-Star break, and really since the Butler trade, and even a few games before? It was Moody and Pajimski had catapulted their games. Those two do not play well. Buddy Hield off the bench does not play well whatsoever. 0 of 6 from 3, finishes with just 6 points. You're missing Butler and Kuminga. There's your game. Not to mention Draymond Green was a turnover machine today in the most unlikely spots, or the most hurtful spots. Could not make a damn layup to save his life. And down the stretch, even had a questionable challenge that leads to, unfortunately, that leads to a 76ers win over the Golden State Warriors. Let's break this thing down. We got a lot to get into. Let's start with the end of this game. Dre's probably going to say the post game is on him. Killed a bunch of momentum. There was an 8-point swing in the first half where there was a turnover. There was a missed layup. There was a couple things. Left Yabasuli open on one. The layups that I mentioned, the layups, they're point blank. It wasn't like the floater from 5 feet that he consistently can't make. It was legit layups tonight. He missed them. For a player his caliber, you got to make layups. And the numbers actually look pretty good. 13 points, 8 assists, 8 rebounds, 5 of 13 from the floor. Like, you'll take the numbers from Draymond Green. But if you watched it from start to finish, you know that there were just some moments where Draymond Green's body language is maybe not effort, but just the way he played. It did not stack up to the way he's been playing the last few weeks, when we've given him a lot of praise on this show. End of the game. Can we please talk about this end of the game? One of the most frustrating ways you can lose of all time. The fact that it's the Philadelphia 76ers, who had Tyrese Maxey go for 5 points, 2 of 14 from the floor. Now, he did have 11 assists, but Tyrese Maxey goes for 5. Joel Embiid is out for the season. Even when they had Maxey going for 25 and Embiid on the floor, this team still sucked. They're 21-38 on the season. They are 17 games below 500. The Warriors are like the hottest team in basketball. You take Jimmy Butler out of the lineup, and all of a sudden, they are not better than literally the coldest and worst team in basketball right now. Now, you can spin zone it and say, well, the Sixers know that Embiid's now out for the season, and they got guys fighting for roles and for some money moving forward, and they're playing hard. They're a tanking team, essentially. And the Warriors just lost to the 76ers. End of the game. Let's break it down. Let's get frustrated together. Subscribe to the show. There are better days ahead than this. I promise you. This is Locked On Dubs.
And most importantly, he a dog.
We need more dogs.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action, it's just getting started, because there is a place to place wagers, and it is FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you missed the opening tip-off, or if your bet's already out of play and you want to wager on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action with FanDuel. You can also combine live bets into a same-game parlay. Interesting feature there. I love just the live bets in general. You're never out of it. You can play 7 at the same time that all hedge each other, and you may lose, you may win, but hey, the thrill is always there. And new FanDuel customers can get that thrill and more with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Who cares now? Because I'm here, and I would like to think that I am wanted here.
$126-119 in favor of the Philadelphia 76ers. The Warriors needed a comeback in the fourth quarter, and their comeback came up just a little too short, but they definitely had their chances down the stretch. Oh, the end of the game literally had I was going to say it had one play from each of the Mount Rushmores of worst ways to end a game possible, but I kept going down the list, and I'm like, we ran out of heads on the Mount Rushmore. We ran out of plays. We need 8. Let's start with a Draymond missed layup with 2:30 to go. Another one of those missed layups. I told you that. There was a Draymond foul on a Quentin Grimes 3. After the 3 and after the whistle blows, Draymond says, absolutely not, challenge. And Steve Kerr, without even saying a word, says challenge it. When Draymond says challenge it, you challenge it. And remember, Draymond at the beginning of the year had that streak where every single time he said challenge it, it was like 4 for 4 to start the season. And I don't have the exact statistics in front of me, but you got to know better than that. It wasn't even close. It was clearly a foul. He wanted an offensive foul too. There was nothing there that indicated it would be any sort of an offensive foul. So the call obviously stands. I mean, whatever. You use it or lose it. Your timeout's gone. That's big. Then there's a loose ball to the Sixers. And Draymond's like, hold on. That hit off Philly. He's getting ready to say, let's challenge. Then he realizes, he doesn't want to pull the Chris Webber. He doesn't have a challenge. He's jumping up and down, stomping his feet, going crazy. Meanwhile, the Sixers get it in, play on. Another loose ball. This one goes to the Warriors. All right. Golden State has it, about 45 seconds to go. They can knock down a bucket. Let's get the ball into Curry's hand. We'll tie this thing up. Warriors will get a little come from behind, get out of town victory, sweating a little bit in the process. And instead, Nick Nurse says, hey, let's challenge that. Can we, Zebras? Longest challenge ever. It was like 15 minutes of real time. I could have made a quesadilla during that. It was literally about the time that you could make a quesadilla, like tortilla out, cheese. Let's just go cheese quesadilla. You sprinkle everything on, you get it on the skillet. Yeah, 6 minutes, 7 minutes, like quesadilla time. That's how I would describe it there. And guess what? Apparently, during those 10 minutes, they get a new view. The ball goes to the Sixers. So the Warriors get it back with a chance after the Sixers do nothing with it. Guy Santos, an out-of-bounds turnover. And you say, what are you talking about, Chuck? Can you please paint the picture for me? It's kind of hard to paint the picture because it's something you don't ever see. He's side out on the right side in front of the half-court line, right by where the bench would be, although I think it was opposite court of bench. And looking for someone, gets it into Draymond. And Draymond, could you say it's inexplicably? I don't know. I don't know what they're dialing up on the sideline there. But you would think that he would wait a split second more, or it's just smart basketball to get it out of the guy's hands that has his back to the basket with 15 seconds to go and give it to someone to facilitate. So probably smart play on Draymond's part right there. But Guy Santos just doesn't get out of bounds. He's standing out of bounds. Draymond passes back to him. His foot's still on the ground when he catches it. That's a turnover the other way. What the hell? What the hell is going on? Oh, and I forgot to mention on the Mount Rushmore, or whatever we're going to call it, the octagon of worst ways to lose in a game. Paul George, the guy you passed up on, hits one right in your face from the mid-range with like 2 on the shot clock to ice it and snap a 9-game skid. I think he may have given one of these. He didn't, but I like to think that he did. Anyways, all you can do is chuckle because that is a disgusting basketball loss. Jimmy Butler or not, that is a horrific team. And maybe they get better. Post Embiid, they now all know their identities and they start winning some games. But based on what we've seen since February 4th, that team is trash. And you need to take care of the trash. You need to take the trash out to the dumpster. And the Warriors do not take the trash out to the dumpster. It's like in a college apartment when you play Jenga. Everyone stacks it up. And eventually when the trash tumbles over, you got to do something with it. And usually the college kids, they don't even do it. They just leave all the trash all over the place. And it's not just the college kids. I see it at the airport. It's like, why are you putting the salad on top of the garbage can that's 50 stories high? It's not the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Find another trash can, please. Anyways, rant over. I see that way too often. But yeah, Paul George, in your face. Tough. Quentin Grimes, player of the game. Have I even ran through the stats from Quentin Grimes yet? How about 18 of 24 in his 37 minutes? Whew. 6 of 9 from 3-point range for 44 points in the game. 44 points from Quentin Grimes. Now I ask you, is Quentin Grimes, where does he stack up on worst players to ever score 40? And he's not bad. I mean, he averages 10 points a game. Former McDonald's All-American. Actually covered as McDonald's All-American back in the day when I was on a Kentucky assignment. He was in that same class as Quickly and Tyler Hero, who was not in the McDonald's All-American game, PJ Washington, Zion Williamson. Anyways, enough. Who were the worst players ever to score 40? A quick Google search will give you guys like Brandon Jennings and Terrence Ross. A quick little AI will say that it's Reeves and Aaron Wiggins and OG Anunoby and DiVincenzo and Keegan Murray and Emmanuel Quickly and Obi Toppin. And apparently you can add Quentin Grimes to the list. Someone that averages 10, has scored 30 in the last few weeks. Solid player, but best player on the floor today. He looked like prime Michael Jordan with 44. And Kelly Oubre, he had 20. Yabusele, he had 18. So Yabusele, Kelly Oubre, and Quentin Grimes combined for 82 points on the Golden State Warriors. Paul George and Tyrese Maxey combined for 22. Not good. And Andre Drummond had 10. How long? Andre Drummond, I mean, for all these bigs, the Blake Griffins of the world, and the guys that I thought were going to be good, the Roy Hibberts, the Hashim Thabits, the DeAndre Jordans, that are probably, all of those guys are probably only like 33, 34 years old. Andre Drummond, still in the league. Back in 2012, he was a first-round pick, and one of those, late 2009 to 2013 big guys that are still around, a traditional big that's still around in the NBA. So shouts to him, doing his thing. Let's continue. Let's talk about the road ahead for the Golden State Warriors. Charlotte Hornets up next. Jonathan Kuminga. That is the big question. When will we see him? Will it be in Charlotte? Let's discuss coming up on Locked On Warriors.
Destroy Jimmy and Domino's. I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
All right, final thoughts from the game today. Obviously, we're used to this. Not as of the last 3 weeks, but we're used to this. We saw this team against Utah and against the Lakers 2 games before Jimmy Butler was on board. We saw it. This is what life looked like before Jimmy. You struggle with no Steph on the floor, and every single game is a dogfight. You win some, you lose some. Today was a dogfight. You lost it with a Paul George shot in your eye. We did get the Steph Curry dunk, the first since the 2019 season. I mean, 6 years has gone by before Steph decides to pull out a dunk. He's still got it in him, and he's playing like a 27-year-old right now. I mean, he's averaging 30 in the month of February. His usage rate is out of control. Down the stretch, though, it really wasn't. He had some nifty passes for assists, but the Sixers did a nice job taking the ball out of his hands. The amount of wide open threes from Buddy Hield down the stretch that were missed, very, very frustrating to say the least, that you don't see Steph Curry put up more than 18 shots in today's game. We talked about when Wiggins was on the team, we needed to see 20-shot Wiggins every night. We definitely need to see 20-shot Curry without Jimmy Butler. And I guess you can credit the Philadelphia 76ers for limiting him in that regard. Obviously, the 13 assists, a byproduct of playing very aggressive defense on Steph. Some of those assists to Quentin Post, I didn't think Post played enough. That was a gripe that I had with Steve Kerr, especially at the end of the game. Broadcasters actually brought it up. Why not have Post out there to stretch the floor and potentially knock down a three? He was 6 of 15, 4 of 9 from 3. The big fella can spray it. 9 rebounds in the game, couple turnovers. I thought Post played well. Probably should have played more than 25 minutes in the game. Trace Jackson-Davis healthy and got a DNP, a coach's decision. Man, he was out overseas with the developmental team or the U.S. Whatever you call it, the young Olympic guys. He was in the Rising Stars Challenge. He was a pretty good rookie. He started off hot this year. He's unplayable right now, per Steve Kerr. Kevin Knox got 7 minutes over him. And Kevin Knox, who was just signed to another 10-day contract, who on maybe 2 or 3 shows ago, I said, I'd love to see you just give him an outright contract to see what he's made of. Instead, Steve Kerr does the wise thing. He says, we'll give you another 10 days to see what you're made of. And so far, it has not been good against anyone with a pulse, really. And the Sixers, not really a pulse. But once he's gotten real meaningful minutes in the first half, the last game was okay. There were a couple of fouls that I didn't actually think Kevin Knox had fouled on. He missed some shots. And like I've been saying this entire time with Knox, that's what he does. He can be a microwave. And if he's not being a microwave, he's not quick enough defensively, laterally, and he's just not great. But 7 minutes today, he doesn't play any in the second half, and a -14, which was second worst to Brandon Pajimski's -16. Gary Payton was awesome. Payton, Post, and Curry were the 3 that really showed up. Payton in 23 minutes, 7 of 11 from the floor, missed both of his 3-point opportunities, but had 7 rebounds, had 4 assists. The Warriors' de facto little center, as we like to call him, the little center that could, 15.7 boards, 4 assists. Gary Payton's going to end up on the Warriors in like 4 years, isn't he? The fact that they didn't trade his and Looney's expiring contracts, like they're going to get another 2-year deal after this year for the minimum or whatever it is, mid-level, and we're going to see these two for more years. I truly believe that, which is remarkable to say. I mean, Payton was gone years ago, and they traded Wiseman to get him back. They liked him so much. So he played great, though, and Looney played well in his 12 minutes. 10 points, 4 rebounds, no complaints there. The Warriors just not enough to get it done. Yeah, so the Warriors not tied. They're now half game behind the Clippers. What else we got? Yeah, I mean, I think we pretty much summed it up. Quentin Grimes, Michael Jordan game. Why did he look like the best player on the floor? That just means that the wing defenders did not do their job. Either that or he found Calvin Cambridge's shoes, duct taped the soles back together. It was one of the two things and nothing in between. I thought you needed a better effort on the glass. There were too many times I saw offensive boards from the Sixers, 10 overall. Warriors did have 18, and they won the rebounding battle 49-40. So I say they should have done better on the glass, and they did their job there. That was just a byproduct of me putting down a note after one possession or whatever it was. But yeah, the Sixers hadn't won since before the Super Bowl. And this is embarrassing, to say the least. Very, very embarrassing. All right, so Jonathan Kuminga, let's get the latest and best update. Last I had heard, they were hopeful that he could be available in the next game against the Charlotte Hornets. And the latest that we have seen, so Warriors, Jonathan Kuminga nearing a return. Steve Kerr wants to emulate Jimmy Butler. So yeah, they're just saying this road trip, whether it's Hornets, whether it's the Knicks, whether it's the Brooklyn Nets, we don't know exactly when he is going to play, but it sounds like they're going to put him back in an easy spot where he doesn't need to press. So you would imagine that if Jimmy Butler has back spasms the next game, maybe not the time, or maybe it's the time to bring him back, because quite frankly, you need to start winning some games, and you can't have both of those guys on the sideline. But they do want to integrate him back in, it sounds like. Kerr saying it's not an easy spot to come back into where the team's rolling. We got the contract stuff this summer. There's a lot on his mind. We want it to be smooth and easy. Hey, Coach, you said that you said that a little bit ago, and that has changed because you are not rolling after a loss to the Philadelphia 76ers. That goes out the window, even if you are 7-2 in your last 9 games. So, yeah, that's an underlying storyline to keep your eyes on over the next day, over the next 4 days, whatever it may be, is when will Jonathan Kuminga return, and how will he look in that return? He was scoring just about 20 a night, it felt like, before he went down with that ankle injury that has proved to be very, very long. I remember 2 weeks, and we'll reevaluate things. I thought he'd miss, 9 games? He's missed quite some time. So we will see as Kuminga is back to scrimmaging and practicing, when Celebrini gives him the full clearance and when Steve Kerr feels comfortable throwing him out there, and what his role will be. All right, this is Locked On Warriors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Quick one on a Saturday night. Enjoy your weekend, everyone. We will talk to you with the Charlotte Hornets coming up, followed by the Knicks and the Nets. Peace.